Lights, camera, action. You don't need them. As long as you've got your remote control and a comfy armchair in your front room or even a sofa to share, because it's time to give you some Freeview film recommendations, courtesy of our main man when it comes to movies. Van Connor joins us each and every Friday. He picks 3 Freeview films, I pick 3, and we meet somewhere in the middle. Good morning, Van. How's your week been, mate? Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you as well as always, Mr. Ross. I can't possibly complain. It's been a good week. The dinosaurs are back in cinemas. What's not to love?
No, I was really torn with my suggestion for today. I'm going to get to mine in a moment. I was very torn by the film you've gone for. Also up against it on BBC One tonight is an, I think, underrated Ben Affleck, great kind of thriller with an unlikely title called The Accountant, which matches Kevin Costner's The Postman for a double title, rather good film. That's on BBC One.
That one's getting a sequel, though.
Is it? Or The Accountant, not The Postman?
They're actually making the Accountant is actually getting a sequel. It made so much money, he's getting a sequel.
Well, that's a cracking film, but so is the one up against it on ITV, and it's the one that Van's chosen, Silence of the Lambs. ITV tonight, 10:45 p.m. Van, this is fantastic, isn't it? With some nice Chianti for the liver.
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
You're one of Jack Crawford's, aren't you?
I am, yes.
May I see your credentials?
Certainly.
Closer, please. Closer. That expires in 1 week. You're not real FBI, are you?
Oh dear, very chilling now. I think Brian Cox was the first person to play Hannibal Lecter in that great film by Michael Mann, Manhunter. Tell us a bit more about Silence of the Lambs. Great clip, great film. We know why you've chosen it, but tell us, Van.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this was obviously the adaptation of the Thomas Harris novel, won the Oscar for Best Picture in 91, of course won the Oscar for Anthony Hopkins for that incredible performance as Hannibal Lecter, and as you point out, was, of course, the second actor to play Hannibal Lecter. Incidentally, both have been brilliant, and both those first 2 Hannibal Lecter movies are the definitive ones. Like, you can avoid the rest. It's either Silence of the Lambs or Manhunter, for which one of the 2 you actually watch. Silence of the Lambs is a stronger film. Manhunter is, I think, a better film, but more abstract. This, though, is just an all-quadrant, creepy-as-hell psycho thriller of the highest caliber. It's one of the most rewatchable films in the world, which is insane when you consider just how depraved, dark, bleak, and all based on psychological profiling this film is. Jodie Foster's incredible in it. Scott Glenn, of course, Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. Just an incredible cast, an amazing script. It's one of the best directed movies I've ever seen. I love this movie. It's just an absolutely gorgeous movie to behold, and some of the imagery in it will absolutely haunt you. Absolutely, just see this if you want a good old-fashioned creepy-ass chiller. It's just one of a kind.
Absolutely, and of course the interesting thing is in both those films and in the books, Hannibal Lecter isn't the serial killer, he's already caught. It's in fact, in the first one I think it's the Red Dragon, in this one it's Buffalo Bill, very incredibly nasty, disturbing serial killer, so that's why you get this sense of him working with Clarice Starling and working in the first film in the Red Dragon with the profile of the man based on a real-life character, of course, I think Jack or John Douglas, who we've interviewed on this show. So that's tonight, 10:45 ITV. That's a big old recommendation. I've gone for something perhaps more, I mean, less a part of cinematic history, but I love this film. I like Denzel Washington. He's one of our greatest actors. This got a sequel, which wasn't quite as good, but the original 2014 was a big hit, an action hit for Denzel, who made a sort of action film before with Training Day. This is much more kind of straight-ahead action, based on the Edward Woodward hit series on American TV from the 1980s. It's from 2014 now. It's called The Equalizer. And again, I think it reinforces what a kind of flexible actor and what an upright moral actor Denzel Washington can be. He can convey morality and dignity simply with a look, can he not? He's fantastic in this film, I think.
Oh, absolutely. This is, I mean, The Equalizer plays a sort of his pitch for Taken. It's him doing a similar sort of template for his action chops as Liam Neeson did for Taken, even though, you know, Denzel had more of an action back catalogue. You look at things like Man on Fire, Training Day, you rightfully point out as well. The Equalizer now is weirdly most remembered by the man on the street now for the Queen Latifah series, which has been sort of made on the back of this film franchise. It started out as the Edward Woodward series. became the Denzel movies, and now is the Queen Latifah TV reboot-quel, as it were. But that, in and of itself, is based on the Denzel version. So this becomes the sort of modern linchpin. He's great in it. It is a role that quite clearly has been tailored for the sensibilities that Denzel so perfectly embodies, that quiet, menacing calm that he has. Yeah. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Great set of villains in there. You got Melissa Leo and Bill Pullman turn up on support as well. And I think Chloe Moretz is his would-be ward in this first one. Great third act, though. Amazing Home Alone in a hardware store kind of sequence.
You don't always see all the action as it happens. You sometimes see just the aftermath when he hangs. He's working in a DIY store. Think of a trained martial arts killer working, say, in Homebase or B&Q. He borrows a mallet. It's not going to work well for the bloke on the receiving end, is it? He rights wrongs. He is the Equalizer, and it's on at 9 o'clock tonight on Film 4. Let's have a burst of the trailer.
I promised I would never go back to being that person. But when somebody does something unspeakable, you do something about it, because you can. I'm here about a girl. 16 seconds. Seconds.
Wow. I mean, it's a great action film, this one. And you've got another interesting choice. I completely forgot about this film until I knew you were going to mention it. Tell us when and where we can see and why we should see 21 Bridges, please, Van.
Yeah, 21 Bridges is the action thriller that kind of came and disappeared just before the pandemic. So this is the late, great Chadwick Boseman. Late 2019, a movie from Brian Kirk, and it's actually produced, I think it's written and produced by the Russo brothers, straight off the back of Avengers Endgame. So, it's the Avengers director and the Black Panther in, a cop action thriller. He's the cop who has to close the island of Manhattan when two cop killers are at large on the island. So they shut down all the bridges that basically provide access to and from the island in order to basically fence them in and basically go block by block to try and find these two would-be cop killers. Of course, everything is not all as it seems, and this may or may not tie into his partner along the way he's forced to team up with, played by Sienna Miller. It's on BBC One Saturday night at 10:20. It's a good, pacey, tight action thriller. It's Chadwick Boseman being cool in that way that only Chadwick Boseman could. He was a great lead, and we would have had more like this inevitably had he not tragically passed. Great solid action thriller. Like I say, it seems it was Sienna Miller in this. You've got an all-star cast in the supporting ranks as well, of lots of B-tier character actors. Very, very good movie. Like I say, you can see Saturday night, 10:20, perfect time for it. It's a nice pacey sort of 100 and a bit minute kind of a thriller. I've got a clip for you, and this is Chadwick Boseman laying down the law, literally, fences in the island of Manhattan.
Here we go then. It's, what time is it? 10 o'clock, 10:20 tomorrow night on BBC One, 21 Bridges.
How you gonna do this?
There are 21 bridges in and out of Manhattan. Shut them down. 3 rivers, close them. 4 tunnels, block them. Stop every train that leaves the island. Amtrak, PATH, New Jersey Transit, LIRR, Metro North, and loop the subways. Then, we flood the island with blue.
Can't wait to see that one again. It's a cracking film. It's on 10:20 tomorrow night, called 21 Bridges. Again, I was torn for my recommendation for Saturday. Was going to go for the 1980 John Carpenter film The Fog on the Horror Channel. Always worth checking out horror. Instead, though, I've gone for more mainstream, more full ahead, 70s kind of Cannibal Run type vibe. They're showing from 5 Action 425. First of all, from 1978, Every Which Way But Loose. Straight away followed by the sequel, Any Which Way You Can. Both of which feature Clyde the orangutan. Clint Eastwood is a bare-knuckle boxer. A host of his favourites. It's laid back, it's daft, it's boneheaded, at times very funny, at times slightly embarrassing. I make no apologies. I like both these films. I mean, there's not much we can say about these. This is when Clint Eastwood was an absolute cash machine for the cinema, and he said I think he made one film a personal film, and some of them, weren't successes like Bronco Billy, and one that were completely at the behest of the studio. I don't know which these were, but I think he must have really enjoyed making these, because they're just something they're just fun in the way that the early Cannonball Run Burt Reynolds films are fun. They're kind of 70s fun, aren't they, really, these movies?
I can't imagine what the modern equivalent to this would be. It's kind of like if Ben Affleck just decided to do 2 movies with a monkey. It's like, what would the modern equivalent to this be? Because it's insane when you think about it in a modern context. But yeah, they are stone cold classics.
And you can absolutely tell he's got the kind of great comedy timing. He's a great actor and a great movie star as well. So let's have a little burst of Every Which Way But Loose. A bit of country music, if you please.
Watch out! Clint Eastwood is headed your way with a whole bunch of chasing, punching, fighting, hitting, and lots of flirting, kissing, and romancing. Every which way you look, there's action, adventure, and fun. Clint Eastwood will turn you every which way but loose. Rated PG. Now playing everywhere.
And the other trailer just features a man and woman. It's worth looking up on YouTube if you treasure as I do some of those dated trailers. Just having a chat about what they could imagine Clint Eastwood doing in a movie. And one of them is, could you imagine him acting with a monkey? Although, of course, he's not a monkey. He'd be offended. He's a primate. He's an ape, isn't he, Clive, the orangutan? So it's the great Mad films. And I've gone for, well, a sequel's on the way and possibly a third film as well. It's Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig. It's, I think, written and directed by Rian Johnson. And folks, and I've been waiting for this film to pop up again. If you get the chance to see his breakthrough film, folks, called Brick, which is basically a high school film, but set like a Bogart film noir. Luke Hass is in it. Very strange film about a brick of heroin and high school skullduggery and femme fatales. But they're all 17, 18 years old. This one, though, I think this came from left field, didn't it? This film. It's basically a kind of American Agatha Christie with, instead of a Belgian detective, James Bond playing a deep southern detective, man of mystery, Benoit Blanc. Great cast. I mean, you know, off the top of my head, Tony Collette's in this, of course. Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Christopher Plummer, Michael Shannon. An amazing cast. A real kind of Agatha Christie in the decaying, genteel parts of America vibe. Daniel Craig having the time of his life. Any news on when the sequel to this one might be? I think it may be out later this year, Van. Have you heard anything about that?
It is later this year. It has been filmed because they filmed it in Greece during the pandemic.
Oh, right.
So it has been filmed because I know Ethan Hawke is part of the cast for the sequel. There is a third one. I think that's been written as well. That's going to be filmed shortly. They were doing them back to back. And this all came back. Netflix dropped $500 million, I think, for the rights to the production for the 2 sequels. Yeah. Rian Johnson, though, as you say, I mean, Rian Johnson's no slouch when it comes to his filmography. It's a slim filmography. Yeah. But everything on there is great. You look at
Looper, didn't he? He's a great film. Yeah.
And, of course, most controversially, Star Wars The Last Jedi, which I'll argue is probably the strongest Star Wars movie since The Empire Strikes Back.
No argument for me on that, but also I think in the cast of the sequel, it finally turns out they're also talking about Dave Bautista, Kate Hudson, and even Ed Norton. So they're keeping that kind of Agatha Christie, loads of stars, evil under the sun vibe going. Here's, though, the kind of setup is Christopher Plummer is a hugely wealthy thriller writer who dies in mysterious circumstances. The police turn up, as does the detective. Nobody wants to be interviewed by Benoit Blanc, whose speciality is unearthing all the horrible mysteries of a horrible family and about a horrible murder victim. Here we go. Here's a burst. You can catch this one, I should point out, on Sunday, and it's on Film 4, 9 o'clock, Knives Out. Enjoy.
The night of his demise, the family had gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. And your son, Ransom, did he attend as well?
Yes, but he left early. I think Linda was upset.
Walt would get a little Irish courage in him. He'd get into it with Harlan.
What? Richard said what?
Are you baiting me, detective?
Attempting to be thorough so we can figure out the manner of death.
You mean if someone killed him? You think one of us, one of his family, killed him?
Mr. Blanc, I just buried my father who committed suicide. Why are you here?
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
Great accent in that as well, isn't it? It's like kind of, he's come from a Tennessee Williams local repertory company production of something like Streetcar Named Desire. Absolutely. I said boy. Okay, so that's on my recommendation, final one, and that's on 9 o'clock, Film 4, Sunday night. What are you going for your last film for us? I think I must confess to a family connection here, because my sister-in-law Jane Goldman, had a hand in the screenplay for this film.
Well, if this is the thing, I could literally pick only movies every week that had been co-written or written in part by your dear sister-in-law, and I would never run out of films because she seems to write quite decent movies, as evidenced by Stardust, which is on ITV2 at 5:30 on Sunday afternoon. I think it's the perfect time for it. This is as close as I think anyone's gotten this century anyway to doing The Princess Bride, doing that sort of archetypical template. Loose adaptation of the Neil Gaiman novel. The big breakout breakout project for director Matthew Vaughn, who I think goes from this to doing the X-Men reboot called First Class, and then gives us Kingsman and things like that on the back of it. And it stars Charlie Cox as he's from the British town of Wall, who goes into a fairy tale kingdom, located on the other side of said wall, to locate a fallen star to impress a girl. Said fallen star being played by Claire Danes, and it's this all-star fairy tale adventure that stars the likes of Robert De Niro as a flying pirate named Captain Shakespeare. You've got a witch played by Michelle Pfeiffer. You've got dueling would-be heirs to the throne of this kingdom who are hunting for Charlie Cox and the star. It's just a wild ride. It's just this really wonderful, whimsical, and quintessentially British fairy tale adventure as well. It's one of the most convincing, big-budget, distinctly British mainstream adventures I can think of that works this well. It's an absolute banger, and it's one you should absolutely watch with the whole family. 5:30 Sunday afternoon on ITV2. I've got a clip for you, and this is, of course, anything involving Robert De Niro's Captain Shakespeare, who absolutely steals the show.
Here we go then. It's on Sunday. Which was Sunday afternoon? You were saying, Van, for this one.
It's Sunday afternoon, ITV2 at 5:30.
Also features Ricky Gervais among other people. Here we go. Robert De Niro as a pirate captain.
Get in there, Wench! So, that went well, I thought. Now, tell me news. My beloved England. I want to hear absolutely everything.
Hang on. I can't believe your crew fell for that. And where in God's name did you get that mannequin from?
Oh, it works every time. An ounce of bargaining, a pinch of trickery, a soupçon of intimidation. Et voila, the perfect recipe for a towering reputation without ever having to spill one drop of blood. Ever tried to get bloodstains out of a silk shirt? Nightmare.
Right. I still don't understand how they won't recognize me.
Listen, boy, when I'm done, your own mother won't recognize you. Now, we've no time to waste. We have only 2 hours before we make port.
Great stuff there. Over-the-top act performance from a campus Christmas, Robert De Niro. And we've also this in from Bob, who says, Paul and Van, don't forget Dead Man's Shoes is on today. It doesn't say on what channel, but it's a rather fine Shane Meadows film with Paddy Considine. Rather grim and gritty kind of family returning soldier drama there for vengeance and payback. Remind us how we can hear you and Rebecca Perfect on your off-screen podcast, if you will, please, Van.
Well, Vex is off for 3 weeks, but you can hear it for one last time this morning on podcast platforms from 6 a.m. on the Off-Screen Show with myself, giving you the ultimate guide to the next 7 days of movies. So that's reviews of things like All My Friends Hate Me, Jurassic World Dominion, movies like that. Everything on Freeview for the next 7 days, and everything on streaming and DVD as well, which is the only time I'm ever going to get close to talking about the Nan movie by Catherine Tate.
Very quickly before you go, the latest Lost World Dominion, or Jurassic World, has had some terrible reviews. Where do you stand? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I think it feels decidedly fossilised all the way through.
And on that bombshell, thank you very much to the Van Corner. Check in Rebecca Perfect's podcast, that called Off Screen, and catch it with me each and every Friday. On the way, though, with your definitive weekend weather from top Met Office operative Becky Mitchell, with the weather after this.